My name is Bill Koch, and I'm here in Manitowoc with many of our friends, our new friends, with the Maritime Bay Bike Classic that was to be here this year for the first time since 2009. With me today first is Jason Ring, who is the Executive Director of the Manitowoc Area Visitor and Conventions Bureau. And Jason, I just have a few questions I want to ask you about the specialness of this event coming to Manitowoc. And first of all, out of the hat is what is hosting this event, the energy behind this event bring to Manitowoc? What is in it for the community?
You know, what our community gets out of it is an opportunity to show ourselves to the biking community in Wisconsin. You know, this is something that we're proud of, the ability to bring people here to enjoy our community on their bikes. We're very accessible. We have the beautiful Mariners Trail that runs right along our coastline, and this is an opportunity to bring a professional level of cyclists to our community. So that's new for us, and we're quite excited.
That's fantastic. Secondly, what's the lasting image you want them to have when at the end of the day they say, boy, Manitowoc, this was a great day. We hope to come back next year.
Oh, I want people to leave feeling welcomed in our community, and I think you're going to get a real red carpet experience. You know, here on the race course, you are less than a block away from some of the best dining in Manitowoc, from some first-class accommodations, and from several of our largest area attractions. So really this race course is right in the heart of our community.
And now I'm going to ask you more of a global question, but relating to Wisconsin and the Tour of America's Dairyland. What would you say to visitors, racers from around the globe, people that live in California, New York, that are thinking about coming to Wisconsin and specifically Manitowoc to race their bikes? What would you want to say to them?
Sure. You know, kind of that interesting thing from a worldwide perspective, you know, this is a race called Tour of America's Dairyland. And you come to Manitowoc and you actually get an opportunity to experience what makes us a dairy land. We have a couple of cheese factories here in our community that we would love to have participants come out and visit pick up some cheese and take home with them on their visit. So we have Henning's cheese, where they make cheese in blocks as big as 4,000 pounds. That'd be a bit of a challenge to take home with you, but you know what? You can take a 1 pound block of cheese or cheese curds home with you, and a great way to remember your visit here to Manitowoc and to the coast here of Lake Michigan. And that's probably the other thing that we will point out to people coming, is that we are located on one of the world's Great Lakes. And that's something that's unique for people to see if they're coming from somewhere else in the country where they don't get to experience this. The closest thing to experiencing Lake Michigan is to being on one of our ocean coasts, and to be able to look out and not see across the other side. That really gives you an idea of just how grand it is to be here participating in this bike race that happens to be right on one of the world's Great Lakes.
Introducing Brad Lighthall with Bank First here in Manitowoc. Brad and Bank First are one of the key sponsors for the Maritime Bay Bike Classic, and we're happy to have Brad join us. Brad, welcome to the interview.
Thank you.
So Brad, in terms of community support and sponsorship, what is it that Bank First looks for when they decide to help underwrite an event in the neighborhood or in the city?
Well, Bank First is a relationship-based community bank. In 2019, we were involved in 742 community events in the different markets that we're in. And what we're looking for is just events that really get people out into the community and get involved.
All right, well, thank you, Brad, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you in the middle of June 2021.
Sure.
Back again with John Brunner this time, the owner of the fitness store. John's been operating the fitness store for I don't know how many years, but it's a long time.
A long time.
John, how many years?
Well, I've been in the business 43 years, but I've had my own store for 28 years.
That's a long time for any job. John also is really responsible for bringing the Maritime Bay Bike Classic back to Manitowoc. We were here in 2009 for 1 year, and then for whatever odd reason, sort of parted ways for a while, but we're happy to have Manitowoc back. And I'm just going to ask John a few questions. John, thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely, thank you.
So, John, in terms of energy and hosting a bike race in your community, what is it that brings those two concepts together? What does Manitowoc and the people who live here, what do they stand to gain by hosting this event that brings people from around the world here to Manitowoc?
Well, I think as Jason mentioned before, the community, well, one, this is a great event to bring people into the downtown area, not just the outskirts, but to bring them into the city of Manitowoc. And you guys got to drive through earlier. You see the beautiful downtown that we have here and the activities that have been going on down here. Not so much a COVID year, but a non-COVID year. There is a ton of activities. There's new businesses, there's new restaurants, there's new attractions. There's so much going on here that the climate is right for professional bicycle racing to return to Manitowoc.
What's the image you want people to leave of Manitowoc when they go home, whether they're going back to Australia, whether they're going back to Grafton, Milwaukee, wherever they live? What do you want them, what's that lasting image you want them to leave Manitowoc?
It's ironic that you asked that, because 31 years ago when I did the first race, 1989, in fact, I just shared this page with Jason just a couple of weeks ago, I promoted Manitowoc. So back in the day, we were able to actually use a portion of the program booklet that was published for the race. We were able to use that to promote. We could either put our sponsors in there, we could do whatever we wanted to. I promoted getting people to come back to Manitowoc, come here for the bike racing, but see what a beautiful area it is, and plan a trip, plan a vacation, plan a visit back to Manitowoc. Stay with us, hang out and see all these amazing attractions, the Maritime Museum behind us, the Rar West Art Museum. The Badger, this is just beautiful. This is the only steam ship, I should say, that is actually operating in the United States right now. It carries people back and forth from Manitowoc to Ludington once a day. In a non-COVID year, twice a day. We'll carry up to 180 cars. Just a wonderful attraction. So the area is ripe for people to come back and see what there is to see here. I think we represent the best of Wisconsin, but I also think that with this race, we represent the best of bicycle racing. So we've got an amazing course. It's about, I think we ended up being with about 6 square blocks that we're going around. We're going right past the museum. So you're able to see the Maritime Museum as you're riding.
You know, there's a nice little company called Quick Trip that is the presenting sponsor for Tour of America's Dairyland, presented by Quick Trip. And I heard a rumor that there's actually a Quick Trip on the race course here in Manitowoc. Is that true?
You know, that is true. In fact, I think I heard a rumor that we are the only race course on the entire series that actually has a Quick Trip on the race course.
And that rumor is true as well.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Long before Quick Trip was even involved in bicycle racing with you guys, they were the most welcoming business. We literally, at one point in previous years, we literally shut them off, and yet they smiled and they supported us and they backed us. Quick Trip supports bicycle racing, not just your series, but they support these activities that come to these communities, because Quick Trip realizes it's important. If you bring people to the cities, if you bring activities to the people, you're going to benefit from it, and Quick Trip sees that.
Well, that's a dynamic way to end it. So we all say thank you, Quick Trip. Thank you, John Brunner. Thank you to the fitness store. Thank you for having the vision to bring Toad back to Manitowoc, and we'll see you next year, if not sooner.
Thank you so much.
Toad on the road, celebrating some great venues, great racing, great people. Another one joining us right now, coming to us from, I believe, the Sunshine State. And so good to see him, Pablo Santa Cruz. Pablo, are you down there in Florida right now?
Yes, I am. I am in Safety Harbor, just west of Tampa and the Gulf Coast side.
And to make this easy for the announcer, you wore the Amato jersey. Now, the thing that was frustrating, and I'm going to get this right out of the way early on, is you've participated many years at Toad riding for Florida Velo, and then put together a composite team, but you both had yellow jerseys.
Correct. So, you know, I came from a soccer background where changing the jersey colors was a sacrilege. So
okay. Well, that explains it. That explains it. Toad on the Road, we're taking a look at each one of the venues that was on slate for this year, celebrating a little bit of the diversity in our lineup. And Manitowoc. Now, we've raced there once in the Toad series, but Manitowoc goes back even further, because back in 1968, Otto Venz cranked up something called Super Week, which would grow to a massive cycling series in the country. and lasted for 44 years. Now, Pablo, you had a chance to race in Super Week. So, you know, Toad isn't your first experience coming up to Wisconsin racing your bike, right?
Sure not. You know, whenever you wanted to race against the best, you went to Wisconsin and Chicago area to, at the time, Super Week. I was fortunate that I just had started the sport, and I had a good fun group of people that said we got to go to Super Week. So I was able to catch either 1 or 2 years of the last stint of that, and I got to meet Toro and had a little chat with him. So I was always inspired with people like him that give so much to the sport, and oftentimes don't go as appreciated as it should. So it was fun to be there.
There was actually discussion about you know, where are we going to put the Masters race, and I believe that there was some input from the Masters themselves that aligned the race so that everyone could then go and hit the great restaurants in town. So
yeah, I tell you what, one of the things that I've always been impressed and I sensed the genuine care was from Bill and his 2 other cohorts in terms of really serving the regulars, but also the larger community of masters, not only to determine what's the best time for them to race, but also what categories. I mean, last year they made a major decision that was very, very cavalier to split the 40s and 50s. And I think it was a success. So that is a tribute to how they think about, they genuinely care for their customers, us, and they make decisions that potentially could cost them, but then long term they prove right. So that's why we keep on coming back.
That's got to feel real good, you know, because that is definitely, we have these communities that really want to invite racers from all over the country, all over the world. But it also has to feel good for you as the promoter for Toad to have somebody who knows the ins and outs of putting on bike racing saying, yeah, we're going to keep coming back.
Sure. And I think Pablo said it well in the collaboration. You know, when you've got somebody who's supported you, you know, year in, year out, you're much more likely to listen to them and say, hey, let's work on some solutions together, as opposed to somebody who shows up and, you know, has some ideas and no foundation necessarily for it. So, you know, we totally, when Pablo talks, we listen because he knows from a racing perspective and from a promoter's perspective exactly what it takes to make that sort of recipe for success.
And let's be honest, Pablo, another reason you come north during the summer is that because racing in Manitowoc, you've got those breezes coming right off Lake Michigan, whereas back home it's 112 degrees. Am I wrong?
That has a lot to do with it. The infrastructures of some of the cities we stayed in terms of trails and coffee shops and beer joints, it's also pretty good. So definitely the whole package there. And I tell you what, here's a memory that brought me back year in, year out. So I finished the race. It was in a Green Bush road race somewhere in the country.
Yep.
It was 100 and some degrees hot. And anyways, we finished the race. The venue was at this beautiful little farm with a bunch of trees. And that was the first time I got to taste the chocolate milk from those very icy buckets. I sat there with my helmet off, sweating like crazy, saying to myself, somebody cared enough to put a cold can of milk for me to enjoy. I had 3, which was a big mistake. I won't talk about what happened with that, but it was it was a special thank you for being here. And that's the type of approach that I've seen from you guys, is the smiles, the welcomeness, the warmness, the sure, whatever it takes, in a simple, you know, can or little carton of cold chocolate milk. It's such a wonderful way to say thank you. So know that it's very appreciated. And I don't know who your sponsor is, but they do a bang out job with supporting you guys.
Well, that's fantastic, Pablo. We're hoping that you come back and drink a lot more chocolate. Well, let's cut it off at 2. for the sake, well, let's cut it off at 1 for the sake of your digestive system. But we'll share with plenty of other guys, and we're hoping that 2021 we'll see you back up, ripping it up in the crit circuit. Bring as many guys from Florida as you want. Tell them the weather's beautiful. And miss seeing you, miss seeing the racing. Fantastic Masters racing. I love how Masters are so tactical. They're doing so much math in their head and grabbing points here and there and doing the team thing. And so on behalf of the partners, on behalf of Manitowoc, all the venues, here's to 2021. We hope to see you up here racing with us, Pablo.
Well, thank you guys for the time you put into all of this, for giving us a playground to just have wonderful memories at our age. I look forward more than anybody to be up there in the summer next year to make the USA Masters Cup, which Todd is obviously the first event of that, even bigger. To cohort more of my friends and teammates to support, to donate, to be a good example of the next generations to come, and to toast with you guys a few times up there. So thank you for everything, and we'll see you soon.
Pablo Santa Cruz, Toad on the Road. Thanks for joining us, Pablo.
Peace.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this segment of Toad on the Road. Thanks for hanging out with us. On behalf of the partners, everybody working behind the scenes, the folks that make these venues so exciting and work so hard to do so, all the racers that come out and enjoy, I'm Todd Busteed. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you in 2021.